Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Giselle and I'm an ultrasound technologist, aka sonographer. And today I am responding to one of your guys' comments. It's actually from my last video that I made, Advice for Ultrasound Students and New Grad Sonographers, which was a Q&A that I had answered 12 questions for somebody's project paper assignment thing. And I'm so glad you guys watched it and enjoyed it. And I am here making another video responding to your guys' comments on it. Um, Everyone seemed to really like that. And I appreciate all of you guys who are commenting and watching these videos because it just makes me so happy to know you guys are watching, listening, and soaking up all this information. I've gotten a few emails and I'm so excited to read those as well because they just make me feel really good. I feel like I'm doing something that's very helpful for you guys. And, I wouldn't keep doing this unless I felt like I was actually helping somebody. And honestly, I started this all out with just wanting to help one person in the field of ultrasound. So I'm just glad to know that there are 16.7 thousand people listening and watching. I just can't even believe it. So thank you guys so much for subscribing and being part of this community, part of my ultrasound family. Yeah, today I'm actually going to talk about confidence. Something that I just responded to somebody else's email about, but also it had to do a little bit with self-doubt. And mainly this comment that I received on that last video from Totally Tubular 9392, which said, I'd love to hear more about when you finally felt more confident. Thanks for another great video. I appreciate you watching and also wanting to hear because I did talk about in that video. One of the questions was how long did it take for me to become confident in my work, right? As far as ultrasound goes. And this story is honestly quite embarrassing to tell. And I remember when it happened a few years back, and I was kind of going through a lot around that time. But essentially that story is pretty embarrassing for me. I didn't really tell people about the true story except for my coworkers, obviously, who knew about it. I did post a post on Instagram. If I can find it, I will post it up right here. Not sure if I will find it, but it was a story that I had said something along the lines of, believe in yourself, be confident in what you find. Um, you have to just go with your gut in this field, right? And for those of you who are students, you will learn this as you go. For those of you who are sonographers, this may help you too. Um, Kind of just believe in yourself more. And I did make another episode saying that I have made mistakes. And yes, I have made mistakes. And a lot of you guys will make mistakes. A lot of us sonographers make mistakes. Um, I would like to say it's not a big deal, but sometimes there are some mistakes that can feel like I don't know. It's hard to say mistakes in the healthcare field, right? Um, but essentially, making these mistakes earlier on in your career will help you become more confident. And that's why they say you won't be confident until, let's say, 5 years into the field. You're going to have to see a lot of things, a lot of pathology, a lot of abnormalities, and a lot of normal stuff to be able to be confident in what you see. You're not going to go and hold that probe right away in lab and just be like, "Oh yeah, that's the pancreas right there." Because down the line, you're going to get a patient and you're going to be confused about what you see. And the more you see normal anatomy, the better it is for you to be able to tell what's abnormal. But at the end of the day, training your eyes to read these images and becoming more confident in yourself that you see that pancreas, you see the fetus, you see the cyst or the fibroid or the gallstone or the kidney stone, or is it artifact? Are you not quite sure what it is? The more you do these things, you'll get confident. The more you scan, you'll get confident. The more you see things, you get confident. So Yes, it took me about 5 years to be confident, but here is the embarrassing story that you guys are asking me for. And it all goes back to when I worked on nights. And essentially, I doubt myself all the time. It's something that I need to work on. I think everybody has things they need to work on. And that's one of the things I need to work on. That email I sent today was about self doubt. And as a student, you're going to have these doubts. You're going to be like, am I going to know what I'm looking at? How will I learn what I'm seeing and things like that? But that's what people teach you about. And that's what you learn out in the field. And the more you do it, the more confident you get, right? Well, on this graveyard shift, I had a lot of factors going on during this time. Okay. It was a graveyard shift, it was late at night. And on these shifts, there's only two of us that work. So me and my coworker. This patient came in through the L&D department, which is labor and delivery. So it was a pregnant patient. And she had come in for, I believe it was monkeypox. So when I had found out she had monkeypox, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. And this was the first time when monkeypox was like a big deal, big thing. So I went over there to do this ultrasound, and she speaks Spanish, so there was a language barrier there. And also she had like contact precautions, which means when you go into a contact room, you have to gown up. So you're wearing all this stuff. At the time, monkeypox, we didn't really know much, but we were told that it is very contagious, right? So I had to be very careful and also careful about how long I was in the room with her. And so, I did my scan, I did everything. I did it a little bit more quicker than normal, but I did my scan and I did it how I would usually do a scan and thought that was it. Did the exam, turned it in, had the radiologist read it, and then a few hours go by later, and the doctor, well, the nurse calls me because we have these little phones at our hospital, and the nurse calls me and says, "Hey, we need you to come back to rescan this girl. Our doctor scanned her, and she actually has two babies." And obviously, when I had scanned her, I documented that there was one baby. So, you know, me, I'm like, oh, wow, okay. So this was at nighttime a few hours later still. I was very tired. My coworker was there. And in the retrospective things, like looking back, she probably should have went and scanned this patient because I already scanned this patient, and since luckily she's there with me, I could have had another pair of eyes to see this patient, right? I could have had someone else check and make sure, okay, is there one baby or is there two babies or what? Did I miss the second baby? Things like that, right? So I instead went to rescan this girl. And it was kind of like, I remember at that time we were like, okay, well, I was already exposed. I should go. She shouldn't expose herself again to this monkeypox. Essentially, I went back to rescan her. And as I went over there, I spoke with the doctor, and the doctor was like, yeah, I scanned the baby A was here and baby B was here. So she was explaining why she saw two, how she saw two, things like that. When I had saw the nurse who put these little monitors on the mom, like they put these monitors on there to watch the heartbeats in labor and delivery. And even the nurse was like, look at the screen, like there's two heartbeats here. Like I see two heartbeats. Everyone's telling me there's two babies in this girl. So I'm like, okay, I'll scan her again. And then the second time I went in there, gowned up again, all the good stuff. What they had told me was this girl had showed them her prior ultrasound from like a long time ago. It had two babies on it. So two babies on that ultrasound picture that she had given them. And so everyone's telling me this girl has two babies. So I'm like, okay, this girl has two babies. Like, okay, she's got two babies. And it's late at night and I'm thinking in my head, okay, she's got two babies. So I'm trying my hardest to find the second baby because I see one baby, and I'm trying my hardest. I'm like looking all around, trying to find the second baby. And I remember that day so well that I should have just went with my gut, right? I should have been confident in what I had seen, but yet I was having everyone tell me one thing where there was two babies in there. And so I pretty much know for a fact that I was looking at one angle and going this other angle and angling in a way that made it sound like this girl had two babies. Because if the doctor saw that there was two babies, the doctor is the expert there, right? And I'm just the sonographer. Well, that day I learned I'm not just a sonographer. I learned that I am very confident in what I do because at the end of the day, this girl only had one baby in there. And this all stemmed up around the next day because one of my coworkers had told me that she was supposed to go rescan this girl for a third time because the first time I said there was one baby. The second time I had made well, not really made up measurements. I just basically measured the same baby twice in different angles. Okay. That was my mistake. I had said there were two babies, and then this other coworker had to go scan her for the third time. Well, she was like, I don't feel confident. Like I would want another person to be in there with me, which is good on her for doing that, right? So she was about to go rescan this baby for a third time with another coworker. And I guess by the time they went over there, basically the radiologist was like, we can't keep on doing this. Let's just do an x-ray. So x-ray went over there, did an x-ray, and they saw that there was one baby, one spine, one baby in there. So I beat myself up for this whole thing. I remember like it was just in my head that whole day, that whole week, month. I mean, I was just like, wow. I really made up that there were two babies. And the reason why I say this is embarrassing is because one, I've never done that before. Two, I felt like, oh my gosh, what does that say about me, right? I listened to the doctors and the nurses and everyone telling me something about this patient when I should have just went with my gut. I should have just told them I only saw one baby, or I should have had somebody else scan. I don't know. Honestly, looking back at it, it's like kind of what do you do? If you guys are curious, comment down below if you have any questions. And if you do scan OB, because OB is my most difficult scan for me. Okay, that's like not the easiest for me because we don't do OB all the time at the hospital, but if you have any advice for me, I would love to have that in the comment section or just how do you guys feel about that, right? I'm just curious what you guys feel. But my supervisor, okay, was the most understanding person and he is a sonographer himself. So he understands. He's been doing this for a very long time, but he was so understanding and he's the one that told me like, this is a learning lesson, but you can see that you should have been confident in yourself. You should have believed in yourself. You should have stood your ground or put your foot down, things like that. I mean, everything is situational in this field. Everything is situational. And if anyone else has gone through something like this, I would appreciate you if you have anything to relate to it. Essentially because I don't know, I'm just so embarrassed by this. I can't believe I'm sharing it. I didn't want to share it with anyone except for the people who were involved and knew about it. But I feel like if I share this, I can help other people feel like your confidence in yourself is important in this field. It will build and it will come. But after that, oh, I was like, yeah, I was kind of I was in my mind all the time. I was like kind of frustrated, upset. I was feeling all the things because then the nurse, I think, what did she do? She did something where she reported me or something. I just can't remember, but it became a whole big mess. And she reported me on this fact of probably because she was telling everyone there was two babies in there and then wanted to blame me for some reason. But, at the end of the day, you're going to go through a lot in your jobs, in your work, and people are going to tell you something, and you learn eventually to be confident in what you see, what you believe, how you feel about your scan. Sometimes you just can't get certain things on ultrasound because ultrasound is not magic. It's not a magic wand. We can try so hard to see something as much as we can, and sometimes we just don't see it. There's bowel gas, there's limitations, there's things that you really just can't do with ultrasound. And I feel like doctors need to understand that. But I hope that you guys hearing my story and hearing all the things that the guests that I bring on this channel or the podcast, I hope that you guys see and learn that you will get confidence as you go and that it will never ever come right away. You will feel confident when you know you understand what you're doing. But it does take time. And for me, it really did take over 5 years. About that 5 year mark is when all of this stuff started happening. And now to this day, I've been doing it for 7 years. I am still very confident, but there are still times where I'm like, what is that? Um, how do I describe that? And people who've been doing this for 20 years, 30 years will tell you the same thing. I am so lucky to work with people who've been doing this for like the one that's been doing it for a long time in our hospital. He's been doing this for 29 years. And there are things that I ask him and he's never seen, or there are things that he gets stumped on too. So just know that you're not alone. And if you have this feeling of you want to keep learning, you want to keep growing, you want to keep getting better, you want to keep doing stuff that is good for not only you, but for your patient, this is a great field to be in. It's very challenging. I don't want to deter you ever from going into this field, but also not everyone is suited for this field. So it's a great way to think about it, whether you can do this or not. The first thing you got to think about is this something you want to do? Is this something you want to challenge yourself with? And I appreciate um being put in these types of challenges, and I love sharing my stories, and this was one unfortunately that I didn't want to share, but you guys asked for it and you wanted to hear it, and that is when I pretty much became confident in myself. And yeah, it was a wild night that night, but it is something that I will never forget. I will always remember, and it is a big turning point in my career. So, you remember these types of things in this field. You'll remember when you had cases that were really hard, cases that were really easy, and cases that changed your career or the trajectory of your career. And that was one of them. And I really do appreciate all the mistakes that I've made because I learned from them. And you guys will make mistakes too, but we are here to tell you that you're not alone and you will get through whatever you're trying to get through. And if it's confidence and a confidence boost that you need, you can join our Discord group, our Facebook group, and just know that we are here for you. And I will talk to you one on one if you need the help, if you need any guidance. You can always join our groups, message me on Instagram, send me an email. I've been getting tons of them and I'm so happy to reply to them. And your guys' questions, they are great, they're fun, and I love doing them. And I love answering them and I love doing all of this. And I'm just telling you guys, 2024 is going to be a great year for all of us. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that story time. I am still embarrassed about that day, but now it's out in the open. And yeah, I feel I feel like I've grown a lot from then. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day, night, week, month, whenever you're listening to this. And we'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, guys.